Tower of Koth is an incredibly fun map to play, and its aesthetic remains my favorite of all the maps in Quake Champions. It feels like it was made for any champion with modified movement mechanics. I enjoy playing it in Team Deathmatch, even Unholy Trinity, and I would love if it were also viable for dueling. But in order for that to happen, some changes would have to be made. Now, despite what you may think, making changes to a map is no small feat. Even the slightest change, like relocating ability vials or changing the speed at which a player exits a teleporter, can make a massive difference in how a map plays, especially in duel. Therefore, if you're going to make changes to a map, it's best to make changes that are as minimally invasive as possible. And whatever those changes may be, they should not only alleviate the current problems a map faces, but also make the map more well-rounded and free-flowing than the previous iteration. So what is it about Tower of Koth that not only deters players from dueling on it, but saw it removed from the QPL map pool after just one season? Well, in its current form, the map possesses some aspects that are not ideal for competitive play. This results in most players avoiding it altogether when voting for which map to play in ranked duel. First is its size. In its current form, the map is simply too large for any champion to get from one side to the other in a timely fashion, unless you're Athena and have 3 grapples ready and waiting. Second, due to its size, there are a number of locations where players can hide, hunker down and turtle, and easily ambush opponents. This leads to players who go up by one frag simply being able to avoid the other player for the remainder of the map by running, hiding, and ambushing. In this video, I'm going to make some suggestions about changing Koth's architecture. I'll also discuss moving the locations of items and respawns to complement my suggested architecture and item placement changes. So you can see where I'm going with this. But keep in mind that while reducing a map's size can alleviate occurrences of players running and hiding for the remainder of the time limit, you also introduce other problems. When you change a map's layout, you change its flow, you change its balance, the respawn system goes into disarray, and many other issues pop up that most mappers just don't want to deal with due to having to retest everything all over again. Let's focus on the problem of the map's size and getting from one side to the other. To put it plainly, in its current state, the map is just too big for 2 players. Tempest Shrine also has this problem and was subsequently removed from the map pool for ranked duel. But after playing Tower of Koth religiously, both in duel and in the variety of game modes, my suggestion is the following. For duel, the heavy armor room has to go. The room is massive and slows down the pace. Its flow just doesn't match with the rest of the map, as all the other rooms are multi-level, while this one is big and open with some stairs off to the side and a jump pad hiding around back. The entire area really doesn't add much except that the heavy armor is here. The horizontal jump pad feels forced, as if the room was so big that the rear corridor needed a quick solution for moving players out of this area of the map faster. Anyway, that's beside the point. It's a big empty room with the heavy armor sitting in the middle. It works in game modes with more than 2 players, but for 1 versus 1, it's a serious problem. So let's pretend we're in a map editor. We simply highlight this area, press the delete key, and wall off all of the access points. Where does that leave us? Now we have to do something about the walls we've created by deleting a third of the map. There's 2 new walls at Railgun, a wall at Nailgun, and a complete dead end at Lightning Gun. And for the top green armor, let's just assume that it falls off into the green lava below. So we have our new walls and a dead end that just won't do. The flow of the map is now completely disrupted, and the spawn system wouldn't make any sense. But let's address the flow of the map first, specifically the dead end at Lightning Gun. My suggestion is this. Instead of a corridor leading to the right, because that's now walled off, let's have a corridor that leads to the left. And add a jump pad that takes the player up to the Mega Health room. This is the smallest possible change I can think of that would effectively resolve the issue of the map's disrupted flow. Adding a corridor here solves the problem of the dead end at Lightning Gun, while simultaneously reconnecting this area with the rest of the map. The jump pad would be safe from behind this pillar, but still be vulnerable from above, including from the grating at the top. This type of change would achieve a smaller overall map size and keep the areas of the map that are supposed to remain separate. But what about heavy armor and shotgun? As you may or may not know, there is only one shotgun on Tower of Koth in Duel, and it's the shotgun next to heavy armor. The placement of major items and weapons like the heavy armor and railgun are critical to a map's balance. And since we now need to reintroduce the heavy armor and the shotgun on the map, I would keep them together by replacing the railgun's green armor with heavy armor and the railgun with the shotgun. But now we have to figure out where to place the railgun. It needs to be somewhere that is vulnerable and requires players to go a little more out of their way to pick it up since we've reduced the map's size. Well, on the top level, we've created a big enough empty space. An empty space with an escape route leading to the teleporter. So how about there? I would place the railgun up here so that it is in line with the tri-bolt, and maybe place it on a pedestal or ramp so that it is elevated enough that the player picking it up can't just hug the wall to avoid damage from different angles. From here, when a player picks up the railgun, they can head off in any number of directions. And I think that is justified since this new placement is highly vulnerable. So now we've re-added the heavy armor and shotgun and changed the location of the railgun, but we're down to 2 green armors. Should our Koth remain as a 3 green armor map or be reduced to a 2 green armor map along with its reduction in size? Well, if our new Koth were to become a 2 green armor map, this would change the dynamic entirely as players would fight to control all 4 items at once, those being the 2 major items and the 2 greens, similar to the flow of Corrupted Keep and Deep Embrace. 3 green armor maps are much harder to lock down as they give players more options for picking fights. However, because one of Koth's green armors is located right next to the Mega Health, I would say that the map should have 3 green armors. On maps like Corrupted Keep and Deep Embrace, the green armors are situated far enough away from the major items that it takes some time for players to lock down those maps entirely. But this isn't the case with Koth. Therefore, we need to reintroduce that 3rd green armor that we swapped out for heavy. I would put it directly beneath the top green armor next to the lightning gun on the bottom level. Here, it is far enough away from the heavy and mega and would give the player running the bottom a somewhat safe pickup along with the lightning gun. Now, because both the top and bottom green armors are vertically opposite one another, I would also add grading in the ceiling at the bottom, directly above our new green armor, and on the floor at the top, directly below the green armor up there, so that both are in line of sight of each other, and players have the opportunity to try for dealing damage. But more so for the player at the bottom, because the top green armor is in such a commanding position on this map, even if you're out of control. Okay, so that about wraps up the major changes, but the last things to consider are respawn locations, ammo boxes and health bubbles, and of course, ability vials. For the sake of relevance and length, I'm going to skip over health, ammo, and respawns, and just focus on vials, as they're the last critical piece of the puzzle. Most duel maps contain 6 ability vials, in 2 sets of 3 or 3 sets of 2. I would make it so that this version of Koth has 3 sets of 2. I'd keep the 2 in the Mega Health room where they are, and place 2 more in our new corner in the nail gun room. And I would then place the last 2 at the bottom in our new corridor leading to the jump pad that takes players up to the Mega Health room. These 3 locations are pretty fairly spread out and make it so that all 6 vials can't easily be picked up within a few seconds of each other. So to review, we removed a third of the map and added a corridor and jump pad at the bottom. The railgun room is now the heavy armor room with the rail sitting up above. There's 2 green armors vertically opposite each other with grading in between so that they're both visible and vulnerable from either location. And we have new ability vial placements to complement our architectural changes. It's definitely a major overhaul, and there's no getting around that. And if you're still watching and are able to follow along with everything, I'm really impressed because it's a lot to take in. But I think it's also worth considering how supplementing the removal of such a big room with a small corridor and jump pad could make the map more playable for competitive duel. Do I expect anything to come of this? Of course not. but the point here is simply to explore a problem that exists in a game we all love to play and discuss our ideas for how to remedy the issue. I look forward to your comments or suggestions down below. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, give me a like, and be sure to share this with your fellow Quakers, as I'm always interested in your feedback. I read every message you guys send my way, and I really appreciate your thoughts on my content. See you guys in the next one.